Which one do you like better, tennis or pickleball?
Oh, that's a very good question because they're very different. They are absolutely very different.
Think about it. Think about it for a second. We have Courtney. She says, hi. Hey, Coach Co.
Hey, Coach Co.
Coach Co, do you play pickleball? If you do, okay, she says she loves it. Which one do you like better? And before we start too, she's saying that she read the typeset. You see this, Christine, that she read the typeset and she loves it. So if you guys are listening, you know, and listen every week, you know that we are about to publish volume 2 of Women Connected in Wisdom. And we just today, if you're an author, it is up right now on the drive. So we're going through the last few steps. We have some good stories and some resources coming for you guys. I can't wait for you to read this volume. Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC, an all-natural skincare company that helps you glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your daily self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
We like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do we do it all?
Right. And this week, we're talking about environmental wellness. And Coach Co, you were here last week. We were talking about this show, right, Christine, that we started watching, How to Live to Be 100 in the Blue Zones. And it was good. And a lot of it
finished it.
Oh, so what did you think?
It was awesome. So
Right?
This is a Netflix documentary, y'all, and we will put it in our show notes. It was fabulous. It is the work of, we'll have to pull up the guy's name, but he's been doing this work for 20 years.
Yes.
And it was fascinating. And you know what I loved about it, Shannon?
What'd you like?
It spoke to our model.
Oh, yeah.
It spoke to what we're doing, because one of the things that all of these octogenarians have in common was a strong sense of community. Yeah. Like community was a part of it. Purpose was a part of it.
Yes.
Movement was a part of it.
Yes,
was. Diet was a part of it, but that wasn't the biggest thing.
Right.
So it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Thank you for recommending that, because Joe and I watched it this weekend, and I thought, we're just going to watch one episode. No, we binged the whole thing. We were like, what? Costa Rica. Right. What is it?
Costa Rica. Yes. Right? I loved it. It was amazing. I said, no way he's 100, and the environment. And it reminded me of your chapter, right? And how you say that we focus a lot on weight and diet, and that's the thing that we think a lot about. And even though, of course, rotating your menu, making sure you're eating local, making sure you're not eating too much sugar, processed things, we can go through the list, but it was really about the connectivity. And I love the intentional groups of social support, right? And how they pulled money together. We do that at jobs, like certain jobs might do that for emergencies, but to have a personal friend group do that makes perfect sense.
Right?
Yeah, I loved all the tips.
It was also, it was fascinating. So highly recommend it to folks. And so I don't know if you noticed this, Shannon, but one thing I noticed that they did not say was, when they filled out the box and was doing the connectors,
right?
They did not say beauty. And every place
we said that too.
He saw that
was stunning.
It was beautiful.
It was stunning.
Right.
Yes,
it was stunning. So that is it's
very important. And so if you have not seen it, views of mountains, right? Beautiful horizon views over water, and places and islands that are remote, that don't have direct ports to get things that are shipped to. So it's really the natural landscape and things like that. And we talk about time in nature, especially with environmental wellness, right? Is definitely something to be said to see beauty. If you do all these things and there's no windows and you're always inside, that'll probably affect it,
Right?
So
it was interesting that he didn't even bring that up. And it's interesting you noticed it.
We did.
And I don't that was, I love the one with the village in Italy where it was the steepness of their village coordinated, and they, went up to church every day, and spirituality. So basically the 8 dimensions of wellness
right.
were a huge part of what his research was showing.
Yes.
Right? When you think about it.
And the self-care and then the community care, right? There was a couple who was married before she was married, and her first marriage was not a rosy picture, and the second marriage was beautiful, and his wife had passed away, you know? So yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was beautiful. And that's why I shared on LinkedIn, you know, in a world where our wellness is skewing to a certain point, younger and younger, we're seeing 30-year-olds have health emergencies, you know, little kids have health emergencies. Like, to be a centennial is a far cry from that. So to have those details be something that we focus on and advocate and tie in experts and resources to, I'm super excited to help add to blue zones, especially if right now we're seeing that they're disappearing.
Right? Absolutely. And Coach Co, who's listening, says, sometimes I feel like the things we've been taught to value in this country, feel like it's the things we've been taught to value in this country. We miss so much spirituality and connection, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yeah. It was fascinating. Yeah. There was one place in the US that was spelled out, and it was in California, and it was an intentional spiritual community, which was interesting. Yes. And their diet, which was all plant-based. So that was fascinating. Like, it was really, it makes you think about it.
It was good. And for me, and we've talked about this on the show, for me, spiritual wellness helps me with my purpose, right? It helps remind me that I have value. And what the show was talking about was being victims of the environment. And we know that we don't advocate victimhood and things like that, but we have to be honest with the landscape and the situation, right? And so in an environment when they're telling me, oh, well, Black women are supposed to be this, or women are supposed to do this, I can intrinsically hold on to my value. And that has definitely helped. It was the last thing I want to mention too, was really interesting how when he brought the research back, it actually added years to people's lives who in their environment, in their community, they intentionally change things, you know, more walkways in downtown areas, more places for social community, like, so it's
and
possible.
They also mentioned that it was possible in communities, but it was possible in countries, because they referenced Singapore. Y'all go watch it. We'll put a link to it in our show notes, but it was fascinating. And it also I noticed a feeling of gratitude and a feeling of purpose when I connected it to Women Connecting Wisdom. Because, you know, we don't talk about longevity on the show, but like, hey, what we're doing, like, according to his research, like,
but I would
talk about wellness.
Yeah. And I would say, and that's what I was going to be a devil's advocate. I would absolutely say we talk about wellness, and maybe we do harp more on chronic illness, and we could talk more about longevity. But when I'm thinking about chronic illness and extending life, that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
Right?
How can we live
being
well?
101, 110,
and whatever God has for, as you know, as long, however many years, I want them to be of great quality with great memories and as well as they can be.
Well, that was the fun part about that documentary too, is because they were not just talking about people who lived over 100. They were talking about people who were vital. They were healthy. They weren't having dementia. They were like, that was the cool part. So for our listeners that just joined us, we're talking about the Netflix documentary Blue Zones, and we will put a link to it in our show notes. But, you know, today we're talking about environmental wellness, and it was a part of that documentary, which is how we got off on this total, you know, side conversation. But Shannon, are you ready for me to read the definition of environmental wellness and what we're talking about today?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Environmental wellness is supporting your good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that enhance well-being. It promotes interaction with nature and also creates enjoyable personal environments, both in and out of your workspace. This includes knowing the type of environments you thrive in and having an intentional relationship with these places, including the earth.
So good. And I think a lot about Melody's work. You know, Melody LeBaron, one of our Amazon bestselling authors in volume 1, and her intentionality in the space that, what does Co say, in the living space, and how she helps people organize it. Co says, by practicing all of this wellness authentically. Yes.
Right.
And how do you show up?
Right.
What are you going to say? Making it
Right. And making it to 100, like doing their wellness authentically. Right. She also said they had a lot of joy in a lot of it. Yeah. I agree.
Joy,
I agree.
laughter, being intentional, and being able to say what you want it to be, how you want to spend your time and what's important to you. So when we think about environmental wellness, that's what I've been thinking about. What do I want it to look like, and what do I have control over, and letting the rest of it go and praying over it, letting it go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and interesting talking about environmental wellness, and that you and I both noticed the beauty, because we know how much that impacts us and our wellness. And today in Atlanta, it's a little, the weather's looking a little dodgy.
It's overcast.
It's a little overcast, but my plants are excited about this rain. I have to say, they are in need of some watering. So.
And what I like to do, and it reminds me of our guests that we're about to bring on, when I think about parks and being outside time, walks by myself, with my partner, with my friends. I love it when it's sunny outside, right? Hence the yellow. I try to bring the sun and love to be in the sun. I call it bronzing when I'm out tanning or getting darker in the sun. So I love to do that. But when it's overcast, I also think about the temperature. Right? It might not look as beautiful or ideal that you would think, and situations do that sometimes. But what is the temperature like? The temperature outside today is amazing. So
it is amazing. And our guest was out in it today, right?
Yes, I'm so excited. So let us read the bio so we can bring her up. Ladies, today we are talking to Isabel Whitaker. She founded the Sara J. Gonzalez Memorial Park, the first memorial to a Latino in Georgia. She's a former national magazine editor and journalist, and now runs a civics organization dedicated to advancing women's leadership.
Woohoo! Welcome to the show, Isabel.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was outside for the last few hours, and I have to say it was an incredible event.
Good.
We were celebrating some new equity features that we are debuting at the park that I founded, which I hope to share a little bit about with you guys. And then it started, and then the skies opened up as soon as it was over. So, I was like, what was meant to be was meant to be. And I too don't mind the rain. So everybody was handing me their umbrella. And I was like, no, I want to be bathed in this.
Yes.
I want to be intentional about my environments, as you guys just said. So, no, really, truly, it's an honor to be here with you guys right now, and to talk to you guys about environmentalism and why it's so important.
Right.
Absolutely.
And now you're still at the event, right, Isabel? Because I'm hearing some good music in the background.
I actually snuck away, and I'm in a coffee shop. So actually, to be fair, I'm in a taco shop, which is even better. So I might have to steal away for just a minute and get some tacos.
Yes. No worries. That's awesome.
But
Coach Co is saying
it's with me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Right? Exactly. I actually fueled up with them before I headed over to the park. So
right.
So
tell us about this park and your work in the world.
So I founded this park. It's sort of crazy because, as you mentioned, I was for many years a magazine editor in New York City. I do not come to the green space community natively, right? Like I enjoy it like everybody else, but I had sort of this cataclysmic moment in my life that gave me pause and gave me an opportunity to think, how did I want to move forward in the world? And what it was that my mother passed. And, we are originally from Atlanta. She was actually originally born in Cuba. I am first generation American, and she, without formal education, became a very prominent and significant voice of the Latino and immigrant community here in the South. Thank you very much. And when she passed unexpectedly, I just knew I wanted to honor her life, and wanted to find a way to do it that was authentically. I tell this story that when she first passed, we're a very small family. Some families stayed in Cuba because of circumstances, what have you. So, she meant the world to me, truly. And she sacrificed a lot for the opportunities and safety that this country provided. us as a family. And so I was like, well, there's a highway, I think, named after, President Carter. How do I, get a highway named after my mom? And I remember talking to some people and they were like, that's really a lot of work. And they were being kind of kind to me. But then somebody said something really interesting, which was like, your mom wasn't about highways. Your mom was about nature and trees and families. And I was like, you're right. Let's get a park named after her. And because the universe works in such mysterious and beautiful ways, there were only 2 parks available for renaming in the entire city of Atlanta. One was out by the airport. It had no connection to me or to my family. And one was the park that I had essentially grown up playing in. And it's on the west side of Atlanta in sort of a previously sort of abandoned part of town. And they have a small little Cuban sandwich shop across the street from this park, which at the time was called Coronet Way Park, which was just the name of the street. And I remember when the person who sort of knew about these things called me and said, okay, does this park Coronet Way mean anything to you? And I was just like, stop it. Yeah.
I love when stuff like that happens.
I mean, and then I swear, guys, it's just been like that the whole way.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. And every development in this park and what I've learned about myself, what I'm capable of doing without knowing at all what I was doing, in honor of my mother's life and values, has just come so naturally and in beautiful synchronicity with the natural world. So, and it's called the Sara J. Gonzalez Memorial Park. And it is, as it turns out, the first park and memorial to a Latino in the state of Georgia. So
congratulations.
It came with a lot of responsibility too that I wasn't initially anticipating.
Right.
But today,
so Isabel, we have to pause because we have a thing in the Women Connected in Wisdom community, like that we take a deep breath after we announce that we've done something really big. And then we just go, woo! Woo!
Thank you.
Well done.
Yes.
It takes a village.
Right.
But, when I started this, I was living in New York and as a magazine editor. And I was like, I think Oprah said it. It was like, you can do anything if you just do it for 15 minutes a week. I was like, I can do that. I can learn how to create a park 15 minutes a week. And it took 10 years, but now we have a beautiful, vibrant, dynamic, alive park. We just inaugurated an incredible piece of artwork from the Savannah College of Art and Design. We have an all abilities swing set. We have a lending library that we debuted today. And we just served about 150 families through a food distribution and community resource fair. So it really does breathe life and helps my mother's legacy endure. So
great job.
For letting me share a little bit about that journey with you.
Yes, please. What a beautiful testimony to your mother and her legacy and environmental wellness and magic, just magic that it was the park you grew up in.
Yeah, crazy. And like that, there have been several things that have happened that have been hey,
your mama is totally on the other side going,
does this random limestone name Cecilia mean anything to you? And I'm like, yeah, that was my mother's name. Stuff like that all the time. So with blessings and gratitude and humility, I walk this path.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Your ancestors are supporting you fully.
Yeah. And I call it strategically orchestrated, right? Just so we met at TEDxAtlanta, right?
That's right.
And through Christine, I actually got my ticket for my birthday and I heard your story about your mom. And we talk about it all the time on Women Connected in Wisdom. And it's beautiful because that's actually what I'm talking about in volume 2 is when my mom passed away in 2019 and how that's helped with dimensional wellness, right? And everything that I do with Shea Love Glow, my shea butter company. And where my retail space is, that's actually funded through a nonprofit, is the neighborhood where she was. And I didn't know her for 12 years. So when I found out she was there, and now my retail space, it like strategically orchestrated everything, like we can't even call it crazy anymore. That's where I'm at with it.
No. And I'll add to that, and I'll say manifestation without pressure, which I can't take credit for. But this idea that you have the germ of an idea that doesn't even live in your brain, it lives in your heart, and everything sort of coincides to make it happen. And and it is about you, even like to your point, deliberately designing it. It happens because it's what was supposed to happen. So congratulations for finding that path and walking it and honoring your ancestors.
Thank you so much. So I have a question about how you manage your wellness coming from New York and the magazine world, journalism, and now in civics. Is it different, or do you do the same thing? What does that look like for you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Well, my work in New York was very fun, very glamorous, and like many things, I didn't realize it while I was in it.
That makes sense.
And some of that is youth too, right? Like, you don't realize, like, stop, breathe, take a moment, enjoy this. This is a season of something very special and unique. You're just trying to, chase deadlines and answer calls and, stay ahead of your email, and not, get your boss upset with you, what have you.
Yes.
But it was so much fun. And I look back on it knowing that I had the constitution at that time in my life to operate at that pace. I always felt that I was a little different than my peers growing up in Atlanta. Like, I always joked that I what is it called? Speed walked, sped walked around the sidewalks. I was always like faster than everybody getting somewhere. Yeah. And, New York rewards that kind of craziness. So, I say I didn't sleep for 20 years because, it's just a city that rewards that level of drive. And as a first generation American and daughter of immigrants, that was my dream. And now that I have a family, I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in a totally different business. I pivoted to nonprofits, which was part of the park's journey for me. Was taking me out of journalism. I'm still a storyteller, I like to say, but now I do it on behalf of missions. Right now, I'm wearing my branding.
Yes.
The organization that I am now associate vice president for, it's called Moms Clean Air Force, and I'm the director of EcoMadres, which is sort of our Latino arm of this organization, and it's all about educating women through civics, how they can participate in and influence policy, in this case, about better environmental outcomes and clean air.
So important. So, of course, so when you think about parks, some people, Christine and I, we love to be outside, right? But for people who don't go to parks, or people who have lived in cities the majority of their lives, how would you describe the benefits of a green space like that?
It's invaluable. And that's what I learned in doing, I had this, I didn't know anything about creating a park, but I think the training that I had as a journalist and as a naturally curious person is that I was fearless in pursuing resources and asking stupid questions. And I learned so much, and I learned about the importance of parks to health outcomes of children. I learned about the disparities in park access, how, neighborhoods that are under-resourced are, the parks that you find in those communities are generally 50% smaller than parks in, predominantly white neighborhoods, privileged and well-resourced neighborhoods. I learned about the direct link between rates of asthma, diabetes, mental health, and access to green spaces. And that's work that I continue to today, right, with the advocacy for fresh air and clean environments. Our communities, generally minority communities that are under-resourced, are the fence line communities and the frontline communities for so much of the negative toxic outputs that contribute to poor health outcomes and poor social outcomes. And so I actually find that the work that I did with the park is really linked with the advocacy work that I do today, because I understand how important it is that we have, all of us have access to clean air and clean water and a healthy environment. We call it justice in every breath, and everybody deserves it.
I love that. Justice in every breath. So, Isabel, I have a question about the EcoMadres. So you said you help people get involved. Do you do classes? Like, how do you take somebody who says, oh, I care about this, but I don't even know where to start. Like,
sure.
I don't like this. This is awesome. And what do I do? Where do I start?
Well, the good thing about an organization like ours, and there are many like us, is that we are here to show you and to walk with you. We have field organizers in almost, many states. And together, we can strategically approach policymakers, lawmakers, people of influence through letter writing campaigns, through petitions, through showing up, in our red shirts and with our pins on, to show that we are collectively a voice, and a voice to be reckoned with, quite frankly. And, you guys saw me speak, and, I often say, like, it is so critically important to vote. And if you have, that opportunity, you absolutely should do that. And if you want to run for office and are able to run for office, you should do that. But those are not the only two ways to influence policy and to get laws changed and to protect your community and do things on behalf of your community. And, it's all, we are behind, I like to say, the collection of mothers and caregivers that'll show up and be like, pay attention to your mothers, right? Like, hey, DC, you got to pay attention to us. We are not to be ignored. And, whether that's us writing opinion pieces or letters to the editor, or figuring out, what are the regulations and the standards that are in jeopardy? How can we make sure that our voice is heard in the decisions that are being made?
Right. So I always have this question, I was a kid that watched Erin Brockovich and, grew up like really inspired by that kind of activism. If somebody discovers a problem in their community with the environment, with the air, with the water, what should they do?
Well, first of all, you want to definitely, depending on, I suppose, the resources that are available to you, you want to contact the authorities, first of all, especially if there's imminent danger. Second of all, the EPA. There's always going to be, there are reporting agencies designated in municipalities, and then look for organizations like ours, like where we list state by state our field organizers, our volunteers. Hey, you have something you want to report? You're just worried about some, a chemical plant in your backyard. I just wrote about one in my backyard in Memphis, and thankfully it's now shut down. So, it's about raising the flag, raising the alarms. I often say that you have to be tenacious, be persistent, never take no for an answer, or at least not the first no, and find multiple entry points in, right? So lawmaker, governing body, advocacy group, school board, and little by little, it starts this, the domino effect of change and impact.
I know you're in Memphis now, but we're based in Atlanta. So I went on your website, and currently y'all have 31,788 members in Georgia.
Woohoo! Yes, we do.
And I love that right when you go there, it tells you how you contact your elected officials, who your state coordinator is, and what y'all are working on in Georgia, the highlights of what you're working on. So y'all, this is cool. Like, go check out their website.
Pointing that out. We want to make it easy. We want to make it, everybody's busy, but these are important issues. And look, this could be an issue for you, but it might not be an issue for somebody else. And there are other avenues for impact. There are so many things that need our attention. And I do believe in finding the path that speaks to you. So we hope that if you come to our doors and cross the threshold, that you will find it easy to navigate and to find your voice.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
I also love that y'all collaborate because I immediately noticed your partners, right? Mm-hmm. And they collaborate with Alabama Interfaith Power and Light, Black Millennials for Flint, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, Sierra Club, Georgia Chapter, South Carolina Interfaith Power and Light, TEDxAtlanta, and Zion Hill Baptist Church. Y'all got some powerhouse collaborators.
Yeah. Well, because it's, like I said, it takes a village. You can't stand alone. These are times that require collective measures. And I do believe that we lift each other up when we walk this journey together.
Yes.
I agree.
And I was going to ask you, we talk a lot about personal and business and how we do both, right? So as a businesswoman who has powerhouse collaborators and mayors at the keynote, when you open the park, right? You had Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms as a keynote speaker. You had the mayor there today. So is there anything that you do specifically when you want these big names to collaborate with you that you're intentional about?
That is I've never been asked that question. And I think that's a really good question. And there's a tactical response that I have, which is go in it hoping for the best, but don't be disappointed if it doesn't work out.
Right.
I ask a lot of people to participate. I ask a lot of people to partner. And I inevitably find that the people that say no were not intended to walk the journey with me. And it's hard because sometimes it's hard not to take it personally, or like, why doesn't that one person want to speak or support this park, or don't they believe in clean air?
Right.
But I give people a lot of grace for not knowing where they are in what they're going through and what they're trying to achieve and trying to accomplish. And that paths are intended to cross when they're intended to cross. And so I think first and foremost, make the asks, shoot for the stars. You're never gonna, what is like sports metaphor. You don't get the point. I don't even know what the sports metaphor is, but you don't get the.
I hear what you're saying. I say it's no if you don't ask.
Right.
It's no already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You don't get the points if you don't try the shot.
Yeah, you miss all the buckets you don't shoot, stuff like that.
Thank you. And I'm
you.
married to a sports writer, so I'm really embarrassed I did not get that right.
It's okay.
We won't tell. We won't tell, Isabel.
It's a really long day. But it's true, right? And so you have to almost disassociate yourself from the ask, so that you don't internalize the outcome, good and bad, right? Like, yay. Sometimes we get great partners to show up and to share the enthusiasm and the impact and to, like I said, hold our hands together through this forest. And sometimes we don't. And it's all as it was meant to be. And don't stop asking and cast a wide net. I believe very much in bringing in multiple partners from multiple sectors. It's something I learned. I was a presidential leadership scholar. Bringing multiple stakeholders to the table, the municipal agencies, the advocacy agencies, the private sector, businesses, community advocates, the religious groups. If you can find the language that threads through them all and bring them together, that's where the power exists.
Yes, I agree with you. And it's important. I think about it as a salesperson that if somebody says no, let it be their no. Again, you don't know if it's because of finances, because of their capacity. For me, if it's shea butter, they might already have however many products at home that they need to use, right? And as somebody who talks about the 8 dimensions of wellness, if you can't afford it or you need to use your products, that's the right answer. No is the right answer. So I appreciate you taking care of yourself before overextending yourself. And now it's a bad partnership. You're not going to use it or whatever it is for the different projects, So thank you. I hear what you're saying.
Well, and Isabel, I really like also what your organization brings about intersectionality. And we talk about that often on the show, like about communities of color and how they're impacted. And another thing I wanted to highlight from your website, because it of course caught my attention, was the quote that said, African Americans contribute 23% less to the adverse impact of climate change, but bear 21% more of the harms. And we need strong standards. And this was a quote from Almeda Cooper in Georgia.
And Almeda's amazing. And she drives our health equity efforts. And I've learned so much from her. And she testifies on Congress all the time in front of the EPA. And, she's a voice for the environmental justice movement, which is exactly that quote, fully realized. Magnify that times 10,000. As it relates, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and a data point that I carry with me all year round, but I've been sharing it when I've had opportunities to these last few weeks, is that Latino children are 40% more likely to die of an asthma attack than the general population, and we are also more likely as a community, as is the Black community, to have asthma. And there are, environmental racism factors that play into these statistics that we need to essentially, free ourselves from and change the circumstances by holding, lawmakers and the powers that be accountable to, ensure that the footprint of toxic chemicals are not imposed on our communities, because that's exactly what happens.
Right. Well, and I was thinking, the mom's clean air force, like there's nothing fiercer than a mom. But then this question, especially protecting her children, and, I'm a big believer your children are my children and my children are your children, because that's how we need to be in community. But I have this question, Isabel, for somebody that's listening, one of our listeners that thinks, but I'm not a mom yet, or I'm not going to be a mom. Can I get involved in this organization? And is there a place for me here?
Well, we are moms, dads, caregivers, people who care and are invested in not only the air we breathe now, but the air for future generations. I just feel that sort of, it's a community approach to holistic investment in our world and better outcomes. You don't have to be a mom per se to care about the well-being of your family.
Well said. So important. Well, every week we ask our experts what they're doing intentionally for that dimension. So for your environmental wellness, what are you doing this week for yourself?
Oh, wow. Well, I got to the park a little early today, as I like to do when we have these food distributions and events. And I walk it, I pick up any trash that's around, I look at the trees, I breathe it in. I'm a big forest bathing person.
Yes.
I have a small forest behind my house in Memphis. And I believe in the interconnectedness of all of us. I'm going to tell you guys something that I turned my sister on to this morning, because I'm staying with her here in Atlanta, and she's got this cute little house, and it's got this great backyard with, and it's here in an urban center. Right. And I'm like, you have a lot of birds here. You should get this bird app that I have. I have become a birder. It's from shoes and purses to collecting bird sounds.
Got
it's
you.
The trajectory of my life. And there's an app called, it's like the Merlin Bird app, and I think it's associated with Cornell. And you basically turn it on, and it records the sounds of the birds, and it'll actually tell you what's in your backyard. And I have, no joke, we sat there for 20 minutes just listening to the birds and going, that's a downy woodpecker. That's a eastern warbler.
Right.
I have no idea what they look like. I sort of could maybe identify them by sound now, but just that intersection, it's not lost on me that technology is taking us, in a rapid current in a direction that, we don't know what the end game is. And yet there are moments of synergistic beauty where technology sort of can ground you in the space around you. And it was beautiful and fun, and made you realize that you're just one of many organisms in a space.
Oh, I love that, Isabel.
Merlin Bird app.
Right? I'm pretty sure that my daughter has that one, because she's a birder too. She's an 80-year-old soul in a 25-year-old body. She volunteers. We have a bird rescue place in Decatur that she volunteers at, and that is pretty cool. But
I love
this
that.
week, I didn't even tell you this, Shannon, but this week, before dawn yesterday, I was deciding, was I going back to bed or was I getting up early? And I heard a barred owl out in my labyrinth. And so I was like, well, I'm getting up early, because it hooted at me twice to come outside. And so my wisdom in action this week is going to be listen to the birds, because anytime I'm paying attention and listening to the birds, I know what's around me or what's going on. And so that piece of being connected to our environment, I love that you brought that up. It speaks to me a lot right now.
Well, thank you for sharing in that little bit of, that gift that you don't have to purchase.
Right?
Absolutely. I love that. I had never heard the word birder, but it makes sense. Maybe I wonder if I'm a birder. I wonder what constitutes, when's the line you just like birds and now you're a birder.
How How many bird feeders do you own?
Right.
And
can you identify the birds when when you hear them, or when you see them, or when you hear them, or do you follow them outside in the morning before the sun's coming up?
Because I do go spend time. I do spend time with the birds. I say, good morning, birdies. That's what I call them. All the birds are birdies.
Some people it's house plants. Some people it's birds, you know,
and
we all have our thing.
Yeah.
Shannon, did I tell you?
What?
So Isabel, my daughter, who's 25, is going back to school for vet tech, and animals adore her. And she was at an event recently, and a homing pigeon walked up to her because it had gotten lost. And she's a birder, and she's like the Dr. Dolittle of our times. So this homing pigeon walked up to her. No, out of all these people at this park, walked up to her. So she knew how to get in touch with its owners, what to do, it's that one of those things that you're like,
Yep.
The X-Files.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
Yep. Shannon, so what are you doing for your wisdom in action this week?
Environmental. What do I say? Look at the trees and look at the birds and know that you're taking care. So, Isabel, my logo for Shalo Glow is actually a bird. And it looks like it has 3 wings because it's actually the leaves of the shade tree. And it's based on the Bible verse, look at the trees and look at the birds and know that you're taken care of. Right. So not a birder, don't know the different ones, but I definitely hone in, like Christine said. So I think for me, be still and be present. And we're about to publish this book. We've been doing a lot of work with the authors and the narrators and coming to the end of these projects. And as I center in gratitude and get ready to celebrate with all the ladies, I want to check in and make sure that we're still and present. Yeah. In the environment. Thank you.
I love that. Well, we are animals too, right?
Right. No, absolutely. Isabel, thank you so much for your work in the world. Thank you for what you're doing with EcoMadres and for our environment and clean air. Thank you I can't wait to go see this park now. So field trip, Shannon.
No, we should definitely go.
What we'll do, Isabel, here's our promise to you. Okay. We will get together and go to that park and take a picture and tag you on it from Women Connected in Wisdom. We'll go play at the park that you created.
I love it.
We might even consider, right? We might even consider having a Women Connected in Wisdom event there. Wouldn't that be fun? Like a meetup there. That would be super fun.
I would come to town for that. I would love that. That's why that park exists, to create community.
Yes.
Right? Beautiful. Oh, I love that idea.
Me too.
Anything else that you want our listeners to know? Anything coming up, or where they can reach you, or the best way to get connected?
I want you all to be aware of something called chemical recycling, which is very bad. And it's going to be positioned and it's going to be fed to everybody as something that's very good. It's called chemical recycling, but really it's just burning plastics and making the air really bad. And you will start to read more about it and see it more. Come to our website, sign our petitions. I mean, we delivered, I think this year, 80,000 petitions to the EPA. I know, and to governing bodies. So, and it makes a difference. People forget that, the air quality in the United States used to be really, really bad until the Clean Air Act. And that was, a collective movement for healthier air for ourselves and for our children. And so we can continue to do this, continue to hold companies and agencies accountable to make sure that they do the best they can for all of us, for justice in every breath.
Yes. Thank you for the heads up. Very important.
Yes. Thank you. And be sure and tag us if you have things going on like that you want our listeners to sign up for a petition. Tag us on social media, and we're happy to share it because it is important. And Women Connected can change the world. I mean, we know the power of us being connected. And so we are so grateful to be connected to you, and we look forward to talking to you more.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing what you're doing and giving voice to so many women. I love your podcast. I enjoyed listening to it, and I'm honored to be in your company. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Have a great day. And hey, go eat a taco for us.
Enjoy it.
I like mine crispy. Okay, bye.
So what's crispy tacos? Tell me more. What type of tacos do you like?
Oh, well, I'm from Texas, so I'm a little bit of a taco snob, but I like a really good handmade corn tortilla that's a little bit crispy. And I actually love street tacos, right? You know how they're flipped and they're, I don't know, it's not the traditional, you think American crispy.
I understand.
But they're crispy because you've flipped them on both sides. I don't know.
You do know. That's in volume.
I do
1,
know.
Right?
You're right. That's volume 1. I do know. Mwah, mwah. I saw a meme the other day that said no more birthday cakes, just tacos. And it had taken tacos and it had made them in the shape of the number. Like, I think it was something like 62 or something. And I was like, that's awesome because I'm gluten-free. I can't eat cakes, but I can eat a taco.
Yes. That's a good idea. Make it out of your favorite food. Hot wings with 31 next year. Yes.
Right. I love that idea. Yes. This was such a good episode. It inspires me, as you know, as an activist and an artist. And I think about, there's so many things that we need to stand up for in this world.
Right.
But if we don't have a planet, I know there's a contingent of people that think they're going to Mars, but here's the thing we know, y'all. It's going to be the very wealthy white men
not everybody,
that are right. So we got this planet and we got to pay attention to our environmental wellness. And she just gave us some tools that we can do that we can plug in and do that. So, that was yummy.
I love it. I love it for the tenacity, the keep asking questions, use your voice like over and over again, looking for resources. Like that's all about, that's like all of the things that we're about. And so when I heard her speak, I said, yep, Christine would love her. I love her story.
Thank you.
We have to continue to uplift the resource in her.
And I'm serious about us doing a meetup or doing something at that park. Like,
we don't say things we don't mean.
Ridiculously fun. Yeah. Like, I love that idea. And heck, I'm a super fan of swings. So we got to go check out the swings.
I want to see what this all access swing is like. Like, what does it look like when a wheelchair can get onto a swing? I don't even know what to imagine in my mind. Right. And I love the fact that SCAD did the mural that they just debuted today because SCAD redid the labels for Shalo Glow. So shout out to SCAD.
Connections.
Yes.
And you've been mentoring students over there, haven't you?
So not mentoring. We've been partnering through the Sweet Auburn Works nonprofit that Shalo Glow is at the retail space with. And through that program, we work with a SCAD class. So last year I had the opportunity to work with one class. And through that class, that student, Dana, shout out to Dana, right, did the labels. And then what?
I'm just saying, when you're working with a class of people, my friend, you are mentoring.
You're right. And I was like, ladies, so you're right. Yeah, because they did great.
Right.
And so we got to work with the second SCAD class. And if you go to Shalo Glow, they're the ones who put together this glow quiz. So now when you come to the website, we have this glow quiz that you can figure out what we can help you with, right? And what challenges you're working with so that our products can help you in those areas. And I love working with the students, so this year we've been at SCAD, Hiram, and Agnes Scott.
So proud of you, my friend.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yes.
All right. Anything we need to know before we hop off of here? And we close out
season 15, season 15 and episode 133. Yes.
That's a lot of hours, my friend.
It is a lot of hours. And anything you need to know, just rest. All right. The holidays are coming up. So if you ladies are listening, we talked about the moms, we talked about the caretakers. Take that time for yourself before all these tasks come.
And there's a big solar eclipse this Saturday. Okay. There's a ring of fire. It's where the moon passes in front of the sun. But it doesn't completely eclipse it. It's not a full, but there will be a ring of fire around it. And that is Saturday morning.
Okay.
And I'll try to put a link to it in our show notes. But big energy, big stuff around eclipse, and new moon is Saturday. So y'all take care of yourself and rest and be well, right?
Yes. And we'll see you live at 5 next week. We'll be wrapping up the season, talking about Isabel. We had Lori on last week. We had Maya on talking about occupational wellness. We'll wrap it up and bring all the resources and everything back. And in the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise, and be whole. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.